What's going on YouTube? Hope you're all doing well. Something a little bit different, something I've been wanting to do for a while is after every Giants live is go through a little bit of a breakdown of the competitions and talking about sort of, especially when I'm there in person, my experiences and what I noticed. And there's some stuff in there that's valuable from like a coaching perspective, but then also some stuff in there that's just cool observations about our sport that we know and love. So if you're interested in that sort of stuff, stay tuned in, because today we are talking about England's Strongest Man, which took place yesterday afternoon at the York Barbican, which is an awesome little theatre. It was actually my first experience of going to the York Barbican for England's. I've done all the other big Giants lives. I've never done England's for whatever reason. And this year I wanted to make a special effort to go, not only to watch it and obviously experience it, but also to daydream a little bit. We all know the goal. So it was a very, very good, well-run comp, ridiculously quick. The lads did 5 events in there or thereabouts 3 hours. It was super, super fast. And we had a really good lineup of lads as well. Quite a deep field of talent where realistically your top 3 to 5 could have been anyone. So the full rundown in terms of athletes was Dean Mason getting called up at the last minute. He only had 8 days of preparation, but he's never an athlete that you want to ignore. We had Josh Brown, who we haven't seen on the Giants live field in a long time. I can't remember when I saw Josh last. I think it was Britain's Strongest Man, maybe 2022 or 23. We haven't seen him on for a while. I know that after Britain's Strongest Man, he went for a bit of a weight loss journey. As far as I'm aware, I don't think he's really on social media anymore. And then he just reappeared out of nowhere. I didn't even know that he had qualified, to be fair, through the qualifiers. So yeah, we had Josh in the mix, Ryan Bennett, who's epic, Paul Smith, who's dangerous at any point, especially with these events, Tom Place, who was actually one of my favourites for the podium, because Tom is just, although he's not the tallest of strongmen, my God is he explosive, and he was also the winner of the qualifier. We had Paddy Haynes, which after the Dumbbell was set to pretty much have, at least 3 event wins. The frame is neither here nor there, because I'll talk about the frame in a moment. But we had Paddy in the mix. We had Zach Hill, who has come back through the woodwork after an injury. Zach's a monster of a man, very, very impressive young man. We have Andrew Flynn, who is an absolute workhorse and super experienced. We have my coach, Ben Glasscock, who is dangerous given his day, as always. We also have Joe Oliver, who was very, very exciting. Joe was, in the nicest way possible, completely off my radar, blew me away. We have William Relf as well, who's also someone that's not on my radar. And this is the beauty of England's Strongest Man, is it puts all of these names in front of us. And they're names that some of you watching this might be like, oh my God, you don't know Joe Oliver, blah, 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 blah. I do now, which is very cool. And then obviously Luke Richardson, which exciting just to see Luke competing. We know that he's obviously been through the wars emotionally, lots and lots of injuries, lots and lots of surgeries, and then passing away has almost been like an injury and a surgery for Luke in itself, that's requiring a level of rehabilitation that I don't think is finished yet. I was quite excited to see Luke, because I know that Luke can just comfortably beat all of these men in the nicest way possible. I'm a big Luke Richardson fan. I genuinely believe that Luke Richardson, when he's at his best, is the strongest man in the world. I genuinely believe he is that good. It's just putting it together for him and staying healthy. The reality of the situation, though, and the bit that made me go, fuck, I'm not sure it's going to be quite his day, was 2 days before, or the day before, I think Saturday was Pa's birthday. So like, not ideal timing really. I don't know, you kind of hope that it's going to fire him up. I thought we were witnessing that at Europe, seeing a much more fired up version of Luke that was using, a lot of this negative energy for positive. But I just don't think it's possible for Luke. Luke is a bolshy guy that's from my experience watching him, generally does really well when he's just confident, coming off the back of positivity, and he's got this like cocky arrogance about him that just works. A lot of people, when they do it, it's annoying. With him, it just works, and then he has the ability to back it up. He's almost got that Eddie Hall vibe about him, where if Luke says he's going to do it, 9.99 times out of 10 he's going to do it. But at the moment, trying to use negativity for positivity, I just don't know whether it's working for him. And Luke could watch this. I doubt he will. He could watch this and fucking on that bloke's chatting absolute shit. These are just my observations at the end of the day. So with that, we went into event 1, which was the dumbbell press. A sick event for a lot of these guys. A lot of them have the ability to rattle through this quite nicely. So the top 4 placings was Ben Glasscock, got 4 in 32.11. Realistically, that could have been a very much a podium finish on that event, possibly even first place on that event. I mean, Luke did first place with 48.12, and Ben had the dumbbell on his shoulder sooner, and just couldn't quite finish the press. It was so close. His feet weren't stable under him whilst the dumbbell itself was locked out. You need to have everything stable to get your down signal. It was that close, and it would have, reflecting on it, that would have been an event win for Ben. William Ralph did really well, 4 in 30.88, which is ridiculous. And Joe Oliver put himself on the map straight in with event 1, with completing all 5 dumbbells in 67.49. They had 75 seconds to complete this. So he was the first man to complete all 5. And then Luke came out and did what Luke does best. Instantly, off the back of watching that, I could see that, or I hoped that Luke was just going to breeze it and be a problem. I knew that would be a slow start for Paddy. Being England's strongest man, there was a lot of pressure on him. They literally made the show about Paddy. He got 4 in 65.53 for 7th place. We knew that a mid-pack finish was going to be standard for Paddy there, and then he can capitalise, hopefully with a good frame carry, and then he can capitalise thereafter and take event win after event win, and hopefully that be enough to wrap up the show. But then Luke's always there, and Luke is a problem. And Joe Oliver was on the map. So that was event 1. I'm just going to scroll into event 2. So then we went into the frame carry, and my God, what a horrible event, and what a banana skin of an event as well. We love events like this, where literally anything can happen. That frame, obviously, not that I've picked it up, but we've seen when they've used this frame before that your pick is so important, but also the most difficult part, because it's got a straight bar that runs all the way through it. If you don't get that pick right, then that frame is tilting forwards or backwards. If the front end digs in, you know, we've seen that before, I believe, with Tom Stoltman, absolute disaster. That front end digs in and it's just a nightmare. Or if you're dragging it, it can be a problem. This frame can be an absolute bastard at times. But we saw some epic work from epic people and a lot of very, very fast runs, and it was tight across the board. Dean Mason came out, bless him, just showing someone that just looked unprepared. Fucking strong. And if he'd have had, you know, even with Dean, if he'd have had 3 or 4 weeks to prepare, he'd have been top 5 on this. Like, he's that good at this and can be that good at this. But the pick was all over the place with a few drops and just an absolute nightmare. It's a difficult event to just pick up last minute. Paddy seemed slow and concerning on this, and that alluded to what happened next. So Paddy was 9th on this with 22.27. Ben got a nasty pick up on this, and had the front tipping down, which he was dealing with really, really well. You could see mentally he was like, I'm not going to drop it and I'm going to finish it. And he was on for a really good time, and then it just dug in that little bit too much and caught him off balance within the last like 3 or 4 meters, and he ended up dropping and re-picking, and that cost him. So he was 21.01 for 8th place. Josh Brown was very impressive on this. He was one of the first to just get it clean with a 16.30. And then the boys showed up and really packed the heat. Luke Richardson 15:49, Andrew Flynn 13:41, Joe Oliver again putting himself on the map 13:12 with an explosion of a celebration, and well deserved. But the man and the king of the frame was Paul Smith, which admittedly I didn't see coming. And a lot of you Paul Smith fans will be like, what do you mean you didn't see that coming? Paul's incredible at these sorts of events. I don't follow Paul Smith in that level of detail to know that this would be one of his events. I know he's a good presser, and that's about it. But that's not because that's all I think he's good at. It's just all I'm aware of. So that brings us into the deadlift, which I'll be honest was absolutely mind-blowing. And naturally, when you're watching England's Strongest Man as an opens athlete that's working hard, trying to visualize yourself there, watching man after man after man come out and deadlift 400 kilos and make it look easy, definitely rattles the nerves, let's say. I've still got a long way to go and a lot of work to do, but it was very, very cool to see. At this point in the competition, unfortunately, Paddy had pulled out. He came onto the microphone to tell us, which is really cool, because I think the majority of the times when people pull out, we don't really hear or see anything. They go backstage, they have a sulk, and then, you know, the MCs and stuff will tell us down the microphone. Terry will let us know, whoever will let us know that they're not going to continue the competition. For Paddy to come out and address it to the crowd, I thought was a really cool, like, professional way of dealing with it. You could see that he was disheartened. I mean, naturally, not having good placings off the first two events meant that he was going to have to work really, really hard to claw back points to get onto the podium or potentially win. And although they were good events coming up for him, he said that he had a hip injury and something had popped in his back when he was carrying the frame. So it wasn't looking good for him to be able to see the job out. And is it worth then trying to put your body on the line when he's got, you know, other really big comps lined up, coming up, and great opportunities? Unfortunately, I mean, I know that Paddy would have really, really wanted to maintain or retain his title of England's Strongest Man, but the dude's got bigger fish to fry and he needs to look after his body. So I back that decision to the hills. If he was my athlete, I would have completely agreed. Even if he felt as though he could continue, I would have made the call to not, because is it really, really worth it? Is there that much on the line for this, really, when he's already on for Worlds next year and tracking on nicely? So the only people that didn't lift 400, which is crazy, was Josh Brown and William Relf. They both didn't manage it. Oh, and Zach Hill, although he gave it a good go and then he picked up 360 afterwards really well. Zach has had issues with his back, so it's no surprise there that didn't go. The reality with Zach is that's just a confidence issue. A few more months of training and he'll be comfortably mixing it up in those weights. He's a very, very capable man. And then, yeah, everyone delivered on the 400 thereafter. Luke Richardson surprised me. I thought he was going to be on for a few reps. He managed a single with 400 and a single with 360. I don't know whether his posterior chain's really fully come back online since his last hamstring surgery. I could be wrong, but there's a sensation of that. And unfortunately for me, like, when I saw this performance from Luke, my heart sank, because it kind of reminded me of what we saw at Europe's Strongest Man, where he came out strong, he dominated on the log, and then he has the one event where it doesn't quite go his way and you start to see the small mental drop off. And with Luke, he performs so well off the back of confidence that seeing that dip the other way, you're like, oh no, I'm not sure these next events are going to be exactly what he wants for him to be able to deliver on what he's capable of. Paul Smith did really well. A single at 400 and two reps with 360. Joe Oliver puts himself back on the mat with 2 at 400. I think he was a little bit disappointed overall with that performance, but it was damn good. And then Big Dino, the boy from Boston, absolutely blew my mind. I know he's done 400 for a single before. As far as I'm aware, 400 for 2 was a PB. Turns out that it was. Dean needs to spend some time watching back how quickly and easily he picked up 400 on that first rep, because, oh my God, I think if he had it in his head to do 3 or 4, I think he could have done it. I know this myself, when you've got a certain number in your head, he would have been happy with one, and you could see him, he locked out the first one. It came up so quick, he locked it out, and he smiled and had this moment of a lack of focus. I think if he'd have had it dialed, he'd have got a triple. He did 400 for 2, and then went on to the 360 for 1 afterwards. Big Ben stepped in next. So I know Ben's done 400 for 2 in the gym, not in the lead up to this comp. That's like his all-time PB. It's pinned on his Instagram and it's on his YouTube. I know he's really proud of that one. I would be. So for him to be at this point in this competition, to then do 400 for 2 and then 360 for 2 straight after, is fucking insane. Absolutely insane. And that was good enough for 3rd on that event. Tom Place, absolute dangerous man. 3 reps with 400 kilos. And then Andrew Flynn fucking comes out of nowhere, does 400 kilos for 3 reps and 360 for a single. And the geezer's never picked up 400 before. So he wasn't someone that was necessarily on our radar for the deadlift. And now he's going to be on everyone's radar for deadlifting. Very, very impressive. I watched Andrew at Ultimates England's, and he didn't seem on form there. I mean, that was a hard comp anyway on a hot day, but he'd also lost a bit of weight, I believe intentionally, to just get rid of some body fat and refresh and go again. And clearly that process had worked, because my God, was he on form yesterday at England. So yeah, absolutely phenomenal. So after the deadlift, that took us nicely onto stone to shoulder. So stone to shoulder, generally an event that you would assume your better deadlifters are going to capitalize on, but also an event that leans itself towards the larger, longer armed gentleman. So we had a lot of shared points in here. Both Dean and Ryan Bennett shared points on 2 reps. Josh Brown couldn't get one up, which was a shame. He definitely had tacky issues. You could see him complaining to the refs about the stone being dusty, but he had no tacky on the backs of his hand, and it didn't look like he had a lot of tacky on his arms either. Sometimes people opt for a less is more approach, but you kind of need to be in a position where, well, if the less is more isn't enough, what are you going to do thereafter? A really, really nice like coaching point for people is to be prepared for everything. Whether, you know, you'll often see these guys bring a little chalk block out with them and put the chalk block somewhere on the floor on a medley. They were doing that with the dumbbell yesterday. Or, you know, in this case, having a blob of tacky on the back of your hand or on the side of your leg. So you've just got the option that if the stone is dusty, everyone's got to deal with the same stone. You grab that blob of tacky once you're a rep in or a couple of reps in, your tack's gone. You can reapply, and you can have multiple blobs as well. You can have, I've seen it before where people have got a blob on each leg and a blob on the back of their hand in multiple places. You do what you need to do to make sure you've got what you need. A couple of guys also came out with a little bit too much on their hands and used that excess to actually put it on the stone, which is a really, really smart thing to do, and allowed for a lot of those lads to capitalise. We then had Zach Hill, Joe Oliver, Tom Place, all joint with 3 reps apiece. I expected a little bit more from Tom, and I think he is capable of more, but at this point in the competition, as all of these lads that are less experienced in giants, they were definitely feeling the pinch in terms of the overall pressure of the event and how fast it was. That's where we see Joe Oliver drop some points, which definitely impacted heavily on the final result, because it looked like Joe was on to win the whole show. And for those of you that know the result, you know that he didn't. So this is where he dropped points, and this is also where the Flying Flynn managed to capitalise. So we had William Ralph, Paul Smith, Ben Glasscock and Luke Richardson all sharing points on 4 reps, and then Andrew managed to get the job done in his pink scrum cap and take 5 reps, which is absolutely wild. But because the others shared points as well, it just created this huge buffer, or a decent sized buffer, between Andrew and the rest of the field, which made Joe Oliver's life really difficult to be able to close that gap with only 1 event to go. And then we came into the final event, which, to be honest with you, what a fucking cruel way to finish, making these lads do sandbag steeplechase right at the end, whilst their posterior chains and legs are just shot to shit. But my God, did we see some good performances on this. Some crazy, crazy stuff going down. So they had a 140 kilo bag. I believe it was 10 meters and then a steeple and then 10 meters. And obviously they need to take both bags across all of that. So I believe they classed that as 4 reps. Joe Brown managed 2, and I think he was just mentally, physically spent at that point. Looked like he was really struggling with some of the extensions and stuff, missed an extension over the yoke. But I'm just hoping Josh enjoyed himself enough to be able to come back onto the circuit again next year, and perhaps get himself back onto Giants. Ryan Bennett, Paul Smith, Dean all put in really good performances, completing them all in around the 50-second mark. And then William Ralph, 40 seconds. That was ridiculously quick. Luke Richardson, 39.46, which was decent, but not quite good enough. And he knew off the back of that would have cost him points. And I think he'd already done the maths and worked it out that's pushed him down into 4th. With the actions of everyone else as well and what that meant. One of the standouts for me was Tom Place on that event. Honestly, it looked like he did it in about 9 seconds. The guy is so fast and so explosive. It's just a matter of time for Tom before he's podium in these kinds of comps. He's absolutely ridiculous. So big shout out to Tom, like absolutely wild. Zach Hill got the finish that he deserved and a big celebration. Got 4 in 38.21 for 4th place. Joe Oliver got a little bit of redemption on that one, placing top 3 with 36.31, which was enough to keep him on the podium and secure himself in 2nd place. Flying Flynn managed 34.81, which just comfortably left him on the podium in 1st. But then the boy, Ben Glasscock, 33.94 for the event win. What a way to finish the day. And with Luke's performance and being able to beat Andrew and Joe in that meant that Ben accumulated enough points to finish not only in 3rd, but also only half a point off Joe Oliver, who was having an absolute belter of a day. The thing that I found really interesting is Ben's run didn't look that quick because he was using his stride. The way that he moves, he uses his stride a lot more than just like really fast feet. Because if you watch them on paper without a timer, you'd have said that like Tom Place did it much quicker than Ben. But Tom is just very, very fast through his feet, where Ben uses his stride and they cover the same ground in similar times, or in this case, Ben doing it there 4 seconds, nearly 5 seconds faster. Crazy stuff. So really, really exciting comp, and amazing obviously to have Ben finish up on the podium. Managed to catch up with Ben briefly afterwards. We bumped into him in the car park and had hugs and a laugh and a chat all round. Knackered and facing a 5.5 hour drive home or something like that, which is so cruel. They need to put those lads up in hotels, even if it's just a Premier Inn, to give them a night's break perhaps. Or maybe he got offered that and said no because he wants to get back to work and get to the gym on Monday, which I completely understand. So just a very exciting comp all around. Would have been nice to see Luke Richardson go to war and finish up on the podium. Would have been nice to see Paddy not get hurt and stay in a comp, but it just is what it is. These things happen. That's strongman at the end of the day. But it's also another competition like what happened with Europe's and with Worlds, for those of you that have seen it. It's just another reminder for us that although, you know, you may see people doing certain things on Instagram leading into competitions and you think, oh, so-and-so's doing really well at the press and they're doing really well at the deadlift and you're not doing so well on the deadlift at the minute and you're not doing what they're doing. It's all about who does what on the day, and it can always be totally different and you literally have no idea what's going to happen. You know, if you said to me who are going to be the top 2 in this competition, it had to be Luke and Paddy. And I genuinely thought we were going to see 5+ reps on the deadlift from both Luke and Paddy, and there'd be a little bit of a war there. And it just wasn't to be. You know, these things happen. People get hurt. People underperform. People have health issues, mental health issues, whatever it may be, injuries coming into the competition that they're not going to talk about before they come in. You literally don't know what you're going to get. So as an athlete yourself, if you're watching this, like, use this as another reason to anchor your training further, to just stay in your lane, concentrate on what you're doing, focus on executing everything to the best of your ability, because that's exactly what Andrew Flynn's just done, and he's beat a load of athletes there that are some of the best athletes in the world. So a very, very cool night, and was finished off with one amazing highlight that will drop in, where Ben actually called out my son Tommy, who was in the audience with us, and gave him a cuddly toy. So Tommy got his Giants live moment, even if his head was tucked into my neck and he was like all shy. I know that boy's absolutely buzzing and slept next to his little teddy made by Lindsay. Shout out Lindsay. Very, very cool, and just a very awesome moment for Tommy that I'm sure he'll never forget. So that's all for this little rundown. Hopefully you enjoyed it. No doubt I'll be doing another one. I think the next Giants will be the Birmingham one with Thor in it. I can't remember what it's called now. It's not the classic. Is it the Strongman Open? It's the one that's got the deadlift champs in it. I think it's that one. I'm too tired. I need to go to bed. Until next time, peace, love and cake.
But I want to end on a positive note. Obviously that was positive. I'm happy with that. But I got two little Lindsay Baldwin gifts right here. And they need some carers. And there's two little ones in the crowd who have come to watch me and support tonight. One of which is at my gym, and their mum and dad support me endlessly, and I really appreciate it. So I need some help finding them, but Orla and Tommy Stacey, I'm coming to get you so you can have these.
Orla and Tommy, where are you up in the crowd? Let's see Orla and Tommy, where are you at? There we are. And if your legs weren't tired enough after that, a little bit of a run up the flight of stairs to hand these over for Ben. And he's going to go right, there we go. Tommy's put that one up there. And all there's another one. Tremendous stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, Ben Glasgow!